On today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, Marvel has announced that they are not going to be in Hall H at Comic-Con this year. Also, the new Sony Spider-Man spin-off film, El Muerto, has been pulled from the release calendar. Should Pixar films just consider going directly to streaming, considering the struggles that they've had a little bit lately? Jensen Ackles is saying that he absolutely wants to play Batman in the upcoming Batman Brave and the Bold film. And Christopher Nolan is saying that early audiences for Oppenheimer are kind of calling it a horror film and are devastated when they come out of it. That and a whole bunch more. The John Campea Show podcast starts right now. With greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our delightful little studio. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and today's episode is, of course, brought to you in part by our friends at Mint Mobile. I'm joined in studio, of course, by Ray Ora.
Hey, hey.
Jonathan Voico.
Hey, everybody.
It is Wednesday, which means that's Chris Carr's days off, so she's not here today, but she'll be back again tomorrow. And yeah, we got a lot of stuff to cover here today, guys, so let's not waste any time and just dive right into it, shall we? I'm going to start off with this. We made a video about this on our YouTube channel a little bit earlier, and for those of you who just listened to our podcast, we have a YouTube channel that we put up several short videos every day. We should go check that out. But Marvel apparently is not going to be attending, I almost said CinemaCon, Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Is not going to be attending Comic-Con's Hall H this year. Now, it should be mentioned that Marvel will have a presence at Comic-Con, but they are not doing their big Hall H presentation. And the reason they are not doing their big Hall H presentation has nothing to do with, in years past, there's been some talk about maybe them peeling back a bit on doing Comic-Con because they're trying to push and promote their own D23 conferences and their own Star Wars Celebration conferences and stuff like that. But there is no D23 this year. And that's not the thing. Now, the Hollywood the Hollywood Reporter put it nicely by saying, Marvel has said in the past that they will only go to Comic-Con if they can actually deliver. And there's nothing to deliver. I mean, everything that's coming, it's already been announced, right? And really more on top of that, and I mentioned this in the video earlier today, the real reason why Marvel, I believe, is not going to be at Comic-Con is not just that they don't really have much to announce. I mean, you could go out there and announce the cast for Fantastic Four, I guess. But you can just do that in a press release any given morning. They're not going because I say this as a fan of the MCU, all right? The MCU is a mess right now. It's a total mess. You know, we took a little bit today, I mean, this release schedule, they've just gone through these massive release schedules, almost all their films, including pushing back a full year. Movies like Avengers Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars, those got pushed back an entire year. Blade, who knows when Blade's going to happen? I mean, they pushed it all the way to 2025 now, but I'll be honest with you, I'm starting to wonder if that movie's ever even going to happen. It was 4 years ago. 4 years ago, they brought Mahershala Ali out on stage and announced that Blade was coming. By the time it comes out, it's going to be like 6 years from when they announced it. They had all these types of problems. The quality of their product has been up and down. Some very, very good things, some very, very bad things. I mean, the state of that place is just a mess. And on top of all that, the guy this entire phase is supposed to revolve around, Kang, being played by Jonathan Majors, he's getting ready to start a criminal assault case trial that starts in August, and who knows how that's going to turn out. They may not even have a star. I don't think this whole multiverse saga thing has worked very well at all. They might be rethinking that whole thing. I mean, the basic bottom line is, why would you go to Hall H when your house is in a mess? And I think their house is in a mess right now.
And speaking of house, it's just like a house. It's, you know, you live in it and it's great, but then after a while, something breaks down. But then, like, it feels like everything
the pipes are leaking, Ray.
Everything is breaking down at the same time right now, which is trouble for most people. Like, you can replace something, replace two things, but then when 4 or 5 things break down at the same time, you got to wait and put those things on hold and take care of what's
pipes are leaking.
Yeah.
The driveway is cracked.
The garage spring is broken.
There's a giant shit in the toilet that you can't get unclogged.
The air conditioner's not working anymore.
And it's hot out, Ray. It's hot out. People are sweating.
The fence in the backyard is breaking down.
It's Tom Hanks's money pit.
Yeah.
That's the state of Marvel. And again, I say this as an MCU fan. I am an MCU fan, but the house of the MCU is a money pit right now. And they got to get things in order. And I'm not saying they can't get it in order. I trust Kevin Feige completely. I believe he will get this ship righted. Absolutely, I do. But right now, the ship is springing leaks all over the place. And why would you go and do a presentation at Hall H?
It feels like they're saying we need a year off to regroup.
It really does feel like that, don't they?
Without saying it.
Because, I mean, look, they launched Secret Invasion last night. And I thought it started strong. I think the first episode of Secret Invasion was actually quite good. I enjoyed it, and I can't wait to watch the rest of it. The script is really good, so whether or not they're going to be able to translate that, we'll see. And then they got the Marvels coming up, and then they got a bit of a break. Mm-hmm. So, and I kind of alluded to this earlier today, but there is nobody happier about this than James Gunn. Not because he's glad the MCU is a mess. James Gunn is very close friends with Kevin Feige. James Gunn says Kevin Feige was the first guy that Gunn called after he got the DC gig. So they're tight. They're close. They've worked very closely together over the years. James Gunn has a lot of friends over there. So I'm not saying he's thrilled and happy because Marvel's a mess. He's thrilled because this means if they do indeed go to Comic-Con, and I believe DC will go to Comic-Con, he's going to have the whole place to himself. Mm-hmm. When he gets on that stage, and by the way, this is me speculating, there's been no reports about this, but when he gets on stage and announces the new Superman, the actor, and they bring out on stage the new Superman, there's no Marvel panel that's going to come out and drown that news out.
It reminds me of wrestling, like Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels. There's a 1 and a 2. Sometimes you need that 1 to take a year off or get injured, and then you become the main star, like for at least a year, and you build your brand when they're taking a break. That's what this reminds me of. Like DC's always been number 2, and even if they release movies at the same time, Marvel has that shine that always, even
though they're in a mess right now, they still have the shine.
And you can see that from Quantumania and The Flash and things like that, the box office from those things. Yeah, it's their time. It's James Gunn's time. If he wants to be by himself and have the spotlight, there's no better time than right now.
And I think this puts a little pressure on Gunn and Peter Safran to maybe, I already think that they had big plans for Comic-Con. I think this pushes it up a notch. I think this should be a motivator to do even more at Comic-Con this year. Bring out and announce the new Batman. That's if you have your new Batman, and I think they probably do. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. But, talk about 1 or 2 of the other projects. Just talk about the development you've got going with the projects you have. I think there's a couple of big things they can do. They're going to own the entire news cycle. And this could be a great way to really be the unofficial start of the new James Gunn-led DCU.
I'm going to ask you, do you think other than James Gunn thing we'll get Joker 2 or Batman 2 footage, anything from those properties?
You know what? Joker 2 has actually been filming for a while. Actually, they might even be done filming.
But does it fit in Comic-Con, do you think?
I think so. Okay. I mean, because it's the audience, right? The audience there with it's a very good, I hadn't even considered that. It's a very good possibility they could show a little bit of Joker footage.
Yeah.
I mean, it's early, but why not? Again, with Marvel not doing a Hall H, you've got the whole place to yourself. Drop some bombs after bomb after bomb.
I don't want to hear that ever.
That doesn't work out so well for me. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this here, shall we? You know what superhero movie is not going to be talked about at Comic-Con this year? El Muerto. According to reports, Sony has completely pulled El Muerto, the movie that was going to star Bad Bunny, international megastar Bad Bunny, wrestling aficionado Bad Bunny, off of the release calendar. This news came out a little bit earlier today. Sony did a little bit of reshuffling of some of their own titles. Not major moves, though, like moving one movie by a month, moving another movie about 6 weeks, whatever. But then there was El Muerto that was scheduled to come out in January of 2024. Now, we've known for a while it wasn't going to hit that release date. But instead of announcing it's now going to be January of 2025 or maybe December of 2024 or maybe June of 2025, they just pulled it off the release calendar altogether. It's just gone. And listen, I love the idea of them doing an El Muerto movie. And we talked about this a little bit earlier today on the YouTube channel. From the moment the president of Sony announced that they're doing this movie and we got all excited and says, and we found the perfect person to lead it, and they brought out Bad Bunny. And I remember being critical of that at the time. Now listen, not being critical of Bad Bunny, not at all. Bad Bunny clearly is a huge megastar. My wife loves Bad Bunny. I think his music, even though I don't know a single thing that he's saying, I think his music is incredibly catchy. I love it when my wife puts it on in the car, all that kind of stuff. But there's just one little thing. Bad Bunny's not an actor. And I don't mind if you put big stars who are stars in other things and give them, minor roles in something. That's fine, supporting role here or there. But you're making this huge tentpole movie and you're going to put it all on the shoulders of somebody who's never starred in a movie before? And I think that was very, very questionable judgment on their part.
Can you at least see that this property is so unknown that they need to put someone like Bad Bunny to actually get people to pay attention to it? People who don't normally watch Marvel, Sony stuff, maybe they'll look at it like the wrestling culture, the lucha libre culture. Oh, and then put Bad Bunny.
Here's my question. I agree. You get a guy like Bad Bunny, who is maybe the biggest international music star in the world, right? That's going to get attention.
Right.
My question is, what good is getting attention to a project if the project's going to end up being subpar because you got somebody who's not an actor in the lead?
Yeah,
I mean, then you're kind of killing it at that. Now, again, I've only seen Bad Bunny in Bullet Train, right? That's the only time I've seen Bad Bunny try to act. And there was really nothing in Bullet Train that I could judge good or bad. I mean, he didn't have a lot to do in it besides do some action stuff. But I mean, I don't know. But look, with this, there are two possibilities I brought up earlier of what could happen here now with El Muerto. Number one is that they could announce sometime in a few months a new release date. Like, it could just be that they are so far behind on this movie. And remember, they announced it well over a year ago. It could be that they are so far behind. According to the Hollywood Reporter, they've done no casting. Bad Bunny himself said a few months ago when asked about the project, he said it was at a standstill. So it could be that they are just so far behind that even though they still are planning on doing the movie, that they're not ready to commit any kind of a date to it. But let me get through the second thing. The second possibility here is that, like Lucasfilm's Rogue Squadron movie that got pulled from the calendar, it's just never going to be seen from again. I don't know which is which. The Hollywood Reporter story did not say that they are going to give it a new release date sometime in the future. They did not say that the movie's just completely done. All we know for certain is that Sony's just very quietly pulled it from the release calendar altogether. And now I'm suspecting this movie doesn't happen at all at this point.
Two things that had just recently happened, and I want to get your opinion on, is the two mystery dates that they revealed, right?
Right, that's right, yeah.
And also Tom Holland taking a year off. The interaction with El Muerto and Spider-Man, what if there's some, because he has a spinoff in the thumbnail I put in today. He's had Spider-Man a headlock.
It's Spider-Man spinoff, yeah.
Do you think that may have affected the release date? Like, oh, we don't know when Tom's going to be back.
No.
We can't, okay.
No, because that would require, now for those of you who don't know what Ray's talking about when he says the two dates, we talked the other day that Sony, just last week, they announced two release date holds for what they call Sony/Marvel events, right? So that could mean Spider-Man 4. That could mean Venom 3. Actually, we all pretty much think one of those dates is Venom 3. It could be something else entirely. The reason I don't think Tom Holland or Tom Holland announcing that he was taking a year off had any impact on this, and by the way, he could be like 4 months into his hiatus, is that there's no script.
Okay.
For that's right. There's no script. Bad Bunny said himself, there's been the project's at a standstill. They don't have a cast. They don't have a script. They don't have anything. So they wouldn't even be ready to shoot this thing in more than a year anyway. So that's why I don't think the Tom Holland, and I don't think that they would put, if they're not putting Tom Holland Spider-Man in Venom, and they're not putting Tom Holland Spider-Man in Morbius, and they're not putting Tom Holland Spider-Man in Craven that we know of, I don't see them dropping him in El Muerto. Because then it's not an El Muerto movie. Then it's a Spider-Man movie, right? So it's a good question. I just think because of the status of things, I don't think that's going to happen. I haven't had a chance to ask Jonathan this yet because we've talked about this a little bit today. I see it as there being two options. Either the movie is going to get another release date announced sometime in the next few months, or that the movie is now gone. If you had to put $5 on it, what do you think? Which of those two options do you think it is?
Gone.
You think it's just dead? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's probably it.
I need this movie now.
And you want it. You said earlier that the only way you'll accept an El Muerto. Well, let me ask you this: What if the Sony president just woke up one day and said, "Wait a minute! Oh my God, we cast somebody who's not an actor in the lead role of a giant tentpole film." What if they came back in 2 months and said, "Okay, we now have a new lead for." We're doing El Muerto, but we've got a new lead, and it's like a Latino actor with experience and has been. Would you be okay with that, or are you like firmly it's got to be Bad Bunny now?
I just like the idea of Bad Bunny. Like his enthusiasm for this thing called wrestling is great, and I think it'll show on screen. For me, in my opinion, I don't think this was supposed to be a tentpole movie. I just think it was supposed to be a small like film but Bad Bunny will bring it money. You know what I mean?
It was releasing in January too.
Yeah, I mean, it was just one of those.
But will Bad Bunny bring in money? I mean,
I think he will.
They put Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny's not in a lot of Bullet Train, but he's in a lot of the commercials and trailers of Bullet Train.
Right.
And that movie didn't make a ton of money.
But you put a soundtrack by Bad Bunny, new music, along with the film. An hour, 30 minutes is all you need of Bad Bunny. Like nothing longer than that. Just introduce his character, make a little money. It's in a wrestling ring. No effects, just physical, practical.
Tell you what though.
Unless this is the June 27, 2025, it was the Untitled Sony Marvel live action that we talked about before. Right. And it got moved a year and a half.
Yeah, I
don't know. I would love to see this movie, but I don't know.
I will tell you this though. My favorite, I have a very eclectic music taste. Like I like a lot of everything, probably except country music. Which, no offense to people who do like country music, it's just not for me. That's all. My favorite band of all time is U2. But I'm gonna tell you what.
Oh no!
You put out a superhero movie starring Bono with a full U2 soundtrack. I'm still not going to see that movie. Aww. And that's my favorite musician in the world, and I'm still not going to go see that. So, I mean, I don't know. Guys, question is for you. I'm going to ask you guys this. You know, where do you think this is going to fall? I mean, is this movie going to come back, or is it dead in the water? I guess the third option is it may be revived, but maybe with a different actor at this point. I mean, I don't know. I'd be curious to know how you guys see that. Now, listen, guys, we still have a number of things that we need to talk about here. We're going to talk about where does Pixar kind of go from here. Jensen Ackles really driving a stake in the ground, saying he wants to play Batman. Christopher Nolan making some big claims about audiences' reactions to Oppenheimer. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second here and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Rocket Money. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of this video, Rocket Money. The average person has around 12 paid subscriptions. Think about that. If you think you're only subscribed to a handful of services, you might want to double check. With Rocket Money, you can quickly identify and cancel all of your unwanted subscriptions. Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Rocket Money will quickly and easily identify your subscriptions for you so you can stop paying for the ones you don't want and don't even use. Simply find the subscription you don't want and press cancel, and Rocket Money will cancel it for you. No more long hold times with customer service or tedious emailing back and forth. Rocket Money makes canceling subscriptions as easy as the click of a button. My wife Ann and I moved out of Burbank 2 years ago, and one of the first things I discovered when I loaded up Rocket Money was that I was still paying for a gym membership I haven't even been to in Burbank in 2 years. So stop throwing away your money. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/Campea. That's rocketmoney.com/Campea. rocketmoney.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Rocket Money for saving me money and for being a sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's get over this, shall we? You know, Pixar just put out a wonderful film with Elemental. It's not a top 2 or 3 greatest Pixar film of all time, but a really, truly charming, wonderful, endearing, heartwarming, funny film in Elemental. And it also flopped. It flopped hard. It was the second smallest opening in the history of Pixar films at the box office, only coming behind the very first Pixar feature film to be put out, 1995's The Original Toy Story. So not a good lead out. And that's coming on the heels of some struggles that they had with Lightyear. So where should they go? And that is the topic of today's Mint Mobile hotline question of the day. If you guys have a question you'd like to hear us address on the podcast or maybe in a standalone video on our YouTube channel, go ahead and call our hotline anytime 24/7 at 951-268-4259. And again, the question today is about, where does Pixar go?
Hey, John, this is Thomas from North Carolina. Huge fan of your show. I just want to ask that with the recent flop Pixar had this past weekend with the release of Elemental, what do you think is the future of Pixar? Do you think that if both Elio and Inside Out 2, which are both being released in 2024, flop at the box office, Pixar start releasing all of their movies exclusively to streaming, or can they get their magic back and bring audiences back to theaters? Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
All right, Thomas, thanks a lot for calling that in, man. So, yeah, the state that Pixar is in right now, this is really uncharted territory, because for many years, Pixar was, look, I've made the argument, they're not just the best animation studio in the business, they're the best studio in the business. I said that for years, because for many, 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 many years, no studio would have the record that they had. Almost everything that they would put out was the top. Many years, a Pixar film would end up being as the #1 critically rated films of the year. They've had 2 of their films nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards, not just the little booby prize of Best Animated Feature at the Academy Awards, actual Best Picture at the Academy Awards nominations for Up and Toy Story 3. They are the gold standard. But they're in a little bit of a weird spot right now. Lightyear was a subpar film. Started great, ended weak, ended up being, by Pixar standards, a subpar film. A lot of people had no idea what to think about this. It's like, is it a Toy Story movie? Is it not a Toy Story movie? Like all this kind of stuff. And now you got Elemental, came out and fell flat on its face. So the question that Thomas is asking is, I don't know, maybe should Pixar just put all their films to streaming? Here's the problem. Putting their films to streaming is what's caused the mess that they're in right now. Now, we discussed this a little bit the other day, but it kind of is applicable here too. When the pandemic happened, instead of having the bold leadership that Tom Cruise showed with Top Gun Maverick, saying, no, we are not going to put this movie on streaming. We are going to sit on this movie until theaters open again, and then we will put this movie out in theaters. And it meant they had to sit for a long time. But instead of having that kind of bold, courageous, ballsy leadership, Bob Chapek decided to mandate, let's dump them on streaming. And not just with Pixar, with Disney Animation as well. I mean, Raya, they did, instead of giving it a proper theatrical release, they did the stupid day and date thing. And then movies like Soul, quite a good movie, just dumped straight to Disney+. Luca, which is a nice little film, not one of my favorite animated films, but a nice little film, dumped it straight to streaming. Then one of the best animated films I've seen in years, other than anything called Spider-Verse, Turning Red. That movie is magnificent. It should have won Best Animated Feature at the Academy Awards, but I digress. Dumped straight to streaming. And we talked about this the other day, that what Bob Chapek did was he changed the entire perception of Pixar with that. Pixar went, over the course of 3 or 4 movies, from being seen as true theatrical events. When a new Pixar movie came out, that was an event. That was a theatrical event. And over the course of a couple of years and 3 or 4 movies, Bob Chapek completely changed the perception of Pixar films to, oh, those are animations on TV. Those are TV cartoons. Not to mention, Bob Chapek revealed his disdain for animation and his disrespect for animation with some other comments and quotes that he made, which we won't go into here. And basically the entire perception changed. And then they didn't help themselves when they did come back into theaters with Lightyear, and they put a subpar film out with Lightyear. So now here comes Elemental. A film that is difficult to market anyway. They didn't do a fabulous job marketing this film, but it is a difficult film to market. Coming off of and fighting the perception that Pixar's are now just movies you just watch on TV. And then when they did have one back in theaters, it was a subpar film. It had a lot of ground to catch up. And it's unfortunate because the movie's really good. That being said, is the answer then just putting Pixar films on Disney Plus? That's the thing that caused the problem in the first place. Not to mention, as David Zaslav has pointed out, and what Bob Iger has started kind of acknowledging as well, there's no money to be made by dropping your movies on Disney Plus. You're just burning money by doing that. You need these movies in theaters making money so that when you do put them on Disney Plus, they're much more popular, they're much more well-known, and they'll have a lot more value on your streaming service than they would be than if you just drop them on there in the first place. Now, you bring up a couple of other upcoming Pixar films, Elio and Inside Out 2. Two very different movies. Elio is going to struggle because, I mean, I saw the trailer. It's cute. It's a cute trailer. Doesn't look like a theatrical event trailer. That I think Elio is gonna struggle. I think that one's gonna struggle at the box office. Inside Out 2 will not struggle at the box office. Inside Out 2 will be a hit. It's not going to be $1 billion film, don't get me wrong. Maybe not even 800 million, but it's going to be a hit. It's going to do well. The first one's magnificent, incredible voice cast, all that kind of stuff. Inside Out 2 will be a hit. Elio I think is going to struggle. That's a difficult one to market. I just watched, again, I'm watching the trailer. I thought, how do you market this thing? I'm not really sure. So yeah, is the answer dump them all on streaming? That's the thing that caused your problem. And it is a problem in and of itself. And if you are going to do that, eventually Pixar just closes because there's no money to be made. So that's kind of my take on that. All right. With that down, guys, let's talk about this, shall we? One of my favorite dudes in the business, Jensen Ackles. Not only is he Dean Winchester in one of my most beloved shows, Supernatural, for so many years, he's now Soldier Boy in The Boys. He was magnificent in that show last year, and he has already hinted that Soldier Boy is going to be back. How much in the new season it will or will not be, I'm not really sure. But bottom line is, I love Jensen Ackles. This guy's great. And he's got a good history of a lot of voice acting as well, including in the Batman universe. A lot of stuff like that. Well, we know James Gunn has a brand new Batman movie coming, Batman Bold and the Brave. And while talking at a convention, somebody asked Jensen Ackles about if he is in the running to be the new Batman. Jensen Ackles has made comments before that he'd be very interested in playing the new Batman. And this is what we got from the folks over at Deadline. They wrote this. Fans of the superhero genre have thrown out names for who they want to be the next Bruce Wayne, who they want the next Bruce Wayne to be. And Supernatural alum Jensen Ackles recently addressed rumors that he was up for the role. I don't know. Even if I knew, I wouldn't tell you, Ackles said at the Just in Bello convention in Italy. I mean, could I do it? Sure. Would I want to do it? Yes. And I love this line. Jensen Ackles joked that Pedro Pascal would probably get the part. Because remember, Jensen Ackles wanted the role of Joel in The Last of Us. So he says, Ackles joked that Pedro Pascal would probably be getting the role, adding, will I be mad when Pedro Pascal gets it? Yeah. God bless you, Pedro. You just keep killing it, buddy. Let me know when you pass on something. I love that line. But anyway, this is where it gets really interesting. He continued, look, right now, nobody's talking about anything. There's a strike going on in the entertainment industry, and until that gets solved, nobody is having conversations about anything. Would I entertain the idea of playing my favorite superhero of all time? Nah, I'm good. It seems like it'd be a lot of work, you know? You got to put in a bat suit and be a superhero. I would love it. Sign me up. All right. This is an interesting thing to me about actors and fit and all that kind of stuff. I love Jensen Ackles. I think he's really great. But and see if you can pull up a picture of Jensen Ackles there, because he just gave some people may not watch Supernatural know what we're talking about. But I don't know. As much as I love him, I'm not really sure if he would be a good fit to play Batman. I think there's a lot of actors I can look at and think, yeah, I could see that being a version of Batman, and that guy could play a certain version of Batman. But I just don't know if Jensen Ackles is one of those guys. I don't know that I look at him and see Batman, especially now that he's been Soldier Boy. I mean, not that playing a role disqualifies you from playing another role in a superhero genre. Obviously not. I don't know if I can see it. But because I like him so much, and I do think he's super gifted and super talented, if they announced tomorrow or at Comic-Con in Hall H, as James Gunn's out there saying, ladies and gentlemen, James Gunn comes out and says, your new Batman, Jensen Ackles, will I be upset? Absolutely not. I'll be thrilled. I'm just saying, if I was James Gunn's consigliere here, I don't know that I would recommend that he do that.
I would have no complaints if he was, cast as Batman, but he'll be a good Batman, but somewhere. But we don't know what James Gunn's theme or like his new DCU is going to look like
or feel like. Yeah.
I think Jensen would be a great, like, if you had a more serious tone. I think like that's big, just because, man, his voice and all that stuff. He seems like that would be a great Batman role for him. But if James Gunn goes a little young and like, colorful and things like that with all his new DCU universe, I'm not sure if that would be a great fit.
Now remember, in Batman Brave and the Bold, Batman has a son.
Right.
A young Robin. Right. The Damian Wayne. So you don't want your Batman being too young.
Yeah, true.
And Jensen is now in his 40s.
Right.
So that might be the right age.
And everything I'm basing this off of is the Batman Brave and the Bold cartoon, which I watched. So it was a little different from the animated series. It was more lighter in tone.
Do either of you guys think, and this is a wild spitball here. Do either of you guys think that Ben Affleck could be Batman? I mean, he's the right age if you're going to have a Damian. He's going to find out he's got a Damian Wayne son and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. Like, I know. Look, I do not think that's going to be the case.
There would be a lot of, you kept Ben, but there's a...
But you didn't keep him? Yeah. I mean, listen, a lot of people are saying James Gunn announced he's going to be... You know what? I think, forget everything that has been said. I think James Gunn is angling to do very, very close to a hard reboot of the universe. So I do not think you're going to see, I don't think you're going to see Ezra anymore. I don't think you're going to see Jason Momoa as Aquaman anymore after Aquaman 2 comes out. I don't think obviously we're not going to see Henry anymore. We're not going to see Ben Affleck anymore. But I'm just, when I was describing it, remember this Batman's a little bit older. He's got a son. He finds out about, I don't know, just be an interesting thing.
And the most important thing is, for me at least, I'm very excited. I want to see what this looks like now, like tomorrow. Because James Gunn, he left on a good note with Marvel. Yeah. I love that movie.
Super high note with Guardians 3.
So, man, I'm excited. I mean, I can't believe he's going to take over this whole thing.
All right. With that down, guys, let's get on to one more topic here before we go and take questions from our YouTube channel members. One of the more highly anticipated films over the next couple of months coming out is Oppenheimer, the new Christopher Nolan film. Whenever Christopher Nolan has a movie coming out, that's something to mark on your calendars. Your calendar, Ray.
I saw it last night.
Ray thought it was coming out last night.
It was really good, actually.
It was so good. So he's got a new movie coming out. It looks amazing. They showed us a big preview for it at CinemaCon. The trailers have been out. People are loving the trailers. Matt Damon looks fantastic in it. Cillian Murphy looks fantastic in it. Well, Christopher Nolan has apparently, remember, I've told you guys before, whenever you hear test audiences, it's always a lie. Always a lie, unless it's the studio or the filmmakers themselves talking about it. Whenever you hear reports, well, did you hear there were test audiences of this movie and everybody threw up? Yeah, those are lies. Always ignore those stories. They're always lies, unless it comes from the filmmakers. Well, Christopher Nolan is now talking about some test audiences he's watched Oppenheimer with, and he's using some pretty interesting language. This comes to us from Variety. This is Christopher Nolan speaking when he says, some people leave the movie absolutely devastated, Nolan said about early screenings. They can't speak. I mean, there's an element of fear that's there in the history and there in the underpinnings, but the love of the characters, the love of the relationships is as strong as I've ever done. Nolan later added, it is an intense experience because it's an intense story. I showed it to a filmmaker recently who said it's kind of a horror movie, and I don't disagree. So, I mean, we're hearing things like audiences are leaving devastated, unable to speak. Some people kind of liking it onto a horror movie. And I'm like, what kind of experience is Christopher Nolan delivering on this? Like, I know you've been excited about this movie. You even thought it was coming out a month earlier than it was.
Well, hearing this makes me absolutely wanting to see this movie. I mean, imagine if Barbie got the same reactions too.
Devastated, can't
devastating,
speak, basically a horror movie.
No, but I was already excited for this movie. I can't wait.
And don't forget, like Oppenheimer, to your point about bringing up Barbie, it's opening on the same weekend as Barbie. And the projections are saying that Barbie's going to open bigger than Oppenheimer. Mm-hmm. Not that it'll be a better movie necessarily, but it's kind of interesting.
It does really concrete the order I would want to watch things now. Oppenheimer first, then Barbie second.
To end on a little bit of a higher note.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to be doing a doubleheader on this one. Anyway, love hearing this stuff. All right, guys. With that stuff all down, let's now go over and take questions from our YouTube channel members. For those of you who listen to our podcast, we have a YouTube channel, and over there we have some great supportive people who help support our channel by becoming channel members. And we ask them every day if they have any topics or questions they'd like us to address here on the show. So let's get over and do that right now. So Jonathan, what do we got?
All right, first up, we got Red One Real Talk, who says, have you ever wanted a movie to be good and yet it disappoints you? Well, yeah. The Ridley Scott and Russell Crowe Robin Hood film always stands out for me. I fell asleep seeing it as a teenager in theaters, and every time I try to go back to it, despite my best efforts, I end up dozing off again. This film will forever be my white whale.
I mean, listen, I go into every movie wanting to enjoy every movie I watch, right? And I mean, disappointment is a part of being a film fan. But sometimes there are movies that you really hope you love that really punch you in the ball sack. I mean, I think of The Rise of Skywalker. I think of Gangster Squad. Oh God, that one I thought was going to be a Best Picture contender.
That trailer was amazing.
The trailers were fantastic. Yeah. One of the great filmmakers today, Ron Howard, did that freaking Moby Dick movie with Chris Hemsworth. Yeah. I thought that looked incredible. Tom Holland's in that too.
I thought that one was bad.
I thought it was pretty bad. But man, the Robin Hood movie. I almost said Orson Welles. Russell Crowe is pretty much my favorite actor. I think he's the best actor in the world, actually. And I can say that now that, you know, the greatest of all time, the GOAT of GOATs is now retired. I think Russell Crowe is the best actor working today. And when you had a movie called Robin Hood, which I love the tale of Robin Hood, and the setting of Robin Hood, the context of Robin Hood, you had Russell Crowe starring in Robin Hood being directed by Ridley Scott.
Right.
I mean, come on. Those two together made Gladiator, won Oscars. Oscars and Oscars and Oscars. That movie was terrible. That Robin Hood movie was pure, straight up garbage.
How'd you guys like that Robin Hood with Egerton in? I never saw that one.
Oh, and Jamie Foxx?
Taron Egerton, yeah.
Yeah, and Jamie Foxx was in it too. It's a forgettable movie. It wasn't bad. I didn't think it was terrible, but it was forgettable. I never went back to watch it again. Yeah. I mean, you still got, look, people make fun of it all the time and understand why, but I still love that Kevin Costner Robin Hood.
I know. It's just a cult classic.
It's just a classic. Morgan Freeman, you know. Anyway, My Room 8, My Room 8:30, and Bring a Friend. I mean, it's just like one of the great, I love that movie. I don't care. But that one was terrible. All right, what's next?
All right. Ulatan, over 20% Rhodey is a Skrull and Secret Invasion.
I'm going to go under on that one. If for any reason, any other reason, the fact that there's literally a scene in the trailers where he's sitting down with the leader of the Skrulls and he goes to make a move and then all these other Skrulls, it turns out everybody else in the room is a Skrull too and stands up. That's been in the trailer. So I'm going to go, I'm not going to say it's 0. I'm not going to say 0%, but because of that in the trailers, I'm going to take under 20%. All right, what's next?
All right. Dildar4732 writes, it's game day. Quite literally, as the digital version of Final Fantasy 16 is playable later tonight at 8 p.m. I just got my pre-order, and I played the demo, and it's incredible. I'm so excited. Hope you guys get a chance to play. I've never really gotten into Final Fantasies.
I used to love playing the Final Fantasy games, but they've changed the mechanics of it. Like, it used to be a turn-based
I was always bad at those games.
I loved those, and they turned it more into a first-person combat thing, and I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in going back and playing Final Fantasy VII, and there's talks about them now thinking about remastering and redoing Final Fantasy VI. I mean, I'd be more interested in that personally, just because I love the mechanics of combat.
Let's hope he enjoys it, though.
Yeah, I hope you love it. All right, what's next?
All right, Dr. Stinky. Hey again, I saw the first episode of Black Mirror, and wow, what a fun, comedic, weird ride. It was fun, but also a little too much. Anyway, bring on the filthy.
Yeah, I've never watched Black Mirror. I've seen one episode of Black Mirror ever. And that was the one with, I forget the girl's name again. The one from the last Terminator movie.
Mackenzie.
Mackenzie, thank you. Something Mackenzie.
Yeah,
or Mackenzie something. The one with her. That's the one I saw. I liked it. Mackenzie Davis. That's exactly what it is. I saw the one with her. I liked that one. It was good, but I've never seen any other episodes, so I can't comment on it. All right, what's next?
Okay. Rampage Predacon writes, with the Hulk distribution rights going back to Marvel, did Marvel get the distribution rights to Namor as well?
I don't know where this thing's going around.
People keep saying that.
People keep saying that, but
it's a headline too.
I think somebody made that up. I do not know that that's the case. I mean,
why would it just go back to them?
People have been saying for years that, oh, the rights for Hulk have gone back to thing. And it turns out they didn't. And then they said it again a year later, hey, the rights to the Hulk have come back. And they didn't. So I have seen nothing official. I'm not saying it's, I'm not telling you right now, don't believe it, because I don't know. All I'm telling you is that I have seen nothing.
Doesn't it seem like that would be
credible?
Trades?
Yeah, I've seen nothing credible or official. It might be out there. Maybe I just haven't seen it yet. No, that's possible. Yeah. I'm just saying I have seen nothing truly credible or official that's the case. So, yeah.
And unfortunately, as cool as the news would be, I don't think Marvel needs any more properties right now. They're struggling with what they have right now.
Yeah, I like, even if it was true, forgive me if I don't get excited about Hawaiian shirt family picnic attending Hulk right now. I mean,
people can't change, John.
They did change. They changed him from a real Hulk into Hawaiian shirt Hulk.
Be a real Hulk.
Family picnic Hulk. All right, what's next?
We got, Dr. Stinky here. Hey, John and crew, I saw Secret Invasion. Well, I liked it. It's not the best Marvel Disney Plus TV show, but it's good. It was kind of dull at first, but the ending was wild. Bring on the filthy.
I did not think it was dull at first. But that's me because, again, I'm a sucker for the political intrigue, espionage kind of stuff, like the paranoid, whatever. I really like that type of stuff, and I like that Marvel continues to try to make different kinds of content. And so I liked it a lot. I agree with you. Not the best thing Marvel's put out, but considering they put out some real crap, I'll take good. I'll take good. I'll take that right now. So here's hoping it continues with that and doesn't become the latest Disney Plus show that starts great with a great first episode and then goes downhill. So we'll see. All right, what's next?
All right, King Tannic is back.
Hey, King Tantic.
Thoughts on the Secret Invasion intro being made by AI? For me, I get the intention of trying to make the audience feel something is off, an allegory for the show itself, but a lot of people hate it.
I didn't know they made it with AI.
Is he talking about like the credit intro?
Yeah, I'm thinking. I'll be honest with you. I liked the credit intro because it was so different from the way their intros usually are.
Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I had no idea it was done with AI, anything like that. I don't even know if that's true or not. I just know I was watching the intro. I thought, this is a real departure from the way they usually do their intros. And just because of that, I kind of enjoyed it. It reminded me a little bit of a Netflix show intro a bit, to be honest with you. But I didn't mind it, to be honest with you. All right, what's next?
From Is Kane. John, you got me hooked on the FX series From.
Nice.
The second season has been amazing. The season finale is this weekend. Have you been watching? Is it next on your list?
I loved season 1 of From.
I want to watch that so bad.
Full disclosure. I only even heard about From because the studio behind it literally paid me $15,000 to promote it on my Twitter. And when I did, I always say this is sponsored, blah, blah, blah. But I did that on my Twitter and they paid me money. But I legitimately loved the season. I thought it was great. I have not started watching the second season yet. I've been waiting for it to finish its run. I'm going to get on that as soon as the finale is done so I can just kind of breeze through those. But I really do like the show. It's quite good. You guys should check it out if you get a chance. All right, what's next?
All right, Bright Guy writes, best composer, I'm assuming film composer of all time, either Zimmer or Giacchino for me.
No, it's not even close. It's John Williams. It's not even remotely close. Every memorable movie theme, you can walk into a cafeteria, average cafeteria, not necessarily movie fans, and you go bum ba bum ba. Everybody in that room is going to say, Indiana Jones. You go into that same room, not even full of movie fans, just go bum 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 bum. Everybody's going to know that's Superman. You walk into that same room, bum 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 bum. Oh, Harry Potter. Everybody knows that. You go to any room and go bum 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 bum. Everybody's Jurassic Park instantly. And we haven't even talked about Star Wars yet. It's easily by miles John Williams.
He might be 15 years old and didn't even listen at that. I agree with his choices. I like Zimmer more than Giacchino though.
I tell you what, he's developing very nicely.
No.
And by the way, he's directing now. He directed that freaking the Werewolf by Night special on Disney Plus. So he's actually transitioning to becoming a director as well. Listen, Zimmer is fantastic.
Right.
I love him. Shore, absolutely fantastic. Many names like Newman, fantastic, classic, all-time greats. But nobody comes remotely close to John Williams.
Even that Ludwig guy, whatever his name is.
Ludwig Gustafsson.
Yeah. He's good too.
Or Gorgonson.
Yes,
one of those. Gustafsson is the MMA fighter. Sorry. Ludwig is turning out to be great too, but if we're talking all-time great. Like how many Oscar nominations does John Williams have?
I don't know.
375 or like some ridiculous number? We haven't even talked about Jaws or the music to E.T. or the music to Close Encounters or the music to, like, it's just, his music starts to define entire generations. It's just another level than anybody else there's ever been. He is the Bret Hart of music compositions. He's the best there is, the best there was, the best there will ever be. So that's just John Williams. All right, what's next?
All right. Matias says, hello, John. I've seen that Jensen Ackles has been asked if he would want to be DCU Batman.
Haven't heard of that.
Huh? Yeah. Now, do you think this is a good idea? Love all you do. Bring on filthy.
Yeah, like we mentioned, if I was James Gunn's consigliere, I would say no, even though I love Jensen Ackles. I just don't see him as Batman. But again, if Comic-Con happens and James Gunn says, ladies and gentlemen, your new Batman, Jensen Ackles, I'll be happy because I love the guy. So that's kind of how I feel about it. All right, what's next?
Joey Hawkins writes, hey, John and crew, why do you all think Bat Keaton knew?
Can't talk about that.
Okay.
Well.
Sorry. What's next?
Got to scroll down a little bit. Rihanna Gordon writes, would you rather be a firebender, waterbender, airbender, earthbender, or non-bender, or the Avatar?
Who would want to be a non-bender?
That was fun to read.
Firebender.
Explain to me what earthbender does. It's exactly
literally
what it sounds.
Earth, ground, rock, stuff like that. Yep.
I'll do earth. I don't know why.
Hey man, listen. They are one of the most powerful characters in Avatar as an earthbender. But if I could only pick one, I mean, obviously I'd be an Avatar where I could bend all the elements. But firebender. Firebender is just, I still think the coolest one. Even though you can hurt yourself, I would be a firebender. All right, what's next?
All right, we got CJ Rebirth. Have you guys seen DreamWorks' Captain Underpants movie? I loved reading the book series it's based on as a kid, and I think it's one of their underrated films. I've never.
Ed Helms, Kevin Hart. I think it was Kevin Hart that did the voice in there. Ed Helms. I didn't like it.
I've always wanted to see it, to be honest.
You never. I wanted to like it. It had a few cute moments, to be honest, but I didn't love it, to be honest with you.
The characters just look funny to me. That's why.
Oh, sure. I mean, the animation style is very stylized. Yes. But yeah, it didn't quite work for me. It wasn't as funny as I was wanting it to be, but that's just me. All right, what's next?
All right. Cody Hunt writes, did you happen to read the full account by Major's lawyer in his case? Thought it was interesting.
I don't know what you define as full account. I've read a lot of, now of course, Majors' lawyer is completely one-sided and telling things a certain way from a certain point of view. It's hard to say because if you believe the statements put out by Jonathan Majors' lawyer, Priya, I think is her name, going right back to like the day after he was arrested, Majors' lawyer made it sound like she had mountains of evidence that clearly clearly showed that Jonathan Majors did no wrongdoing and that she would be presenting this clear mountain of indisputable evidence to the DA, and the DA would instantly, throw away any charges. Well, that didn't happen. The charges, so again, that is not me saying that is any indication of Jonathan Majors' innocence or guilt. I have no dog in this fight. I have no idea. I'm not there. I haven't seen all the evidence. All I'm saying is that this lawyer's done a lot of talking. And every time the lawyer talks, the actual events that unfold seem to contradict what the lawyer has said. Because we're in a situation now where in August, a criminal assault trial is happening on, and DAs do not like taking to trial cases they don't think they can win. Obviously, they do cases that they sometimes don't win, but they do not like taking cases in there that they don't think they can win. Because that's a blemish on their record. That looks bad on them. They wasted taxpayer dollars, all that kind of stuff. And all I know is that if you had such irrefutable mountains and rivers of evidence that clearly showed you, then the DA would have thrown the charges out. Or you would have been able to bring a motion to dismiss to the court, because if it's something that's clearly obvious they didn't do, you can just bring a motion to dismiss to the judge, and the judge can just throw the damn thing out. But here we are, made his first court appearance. They've set the trial date. And so I don't know what to think of Jonathan Majors' lawyer. I just don't know if I take anything she says very seriously right now.
You might need a law bender.
a law bender.
Oh, law trial bender. Brilliant. I got more. Bender. On my hotline.
Right. What's next?
Jesse has a turtle asks, how are sales projections for films calculated?
Oh, I don't know where they get that sorcery. They do extensive studies. They put out private polls. They do all this. They measure social media reactions. Like there's a whole kind of alchemy involved in that. And I remember when I was at AMC Theaters, one of their vice presidents there was a really, really interesting guy who's kind of their head of acquisition. And it was his job to watch movies way before any of us do, and it was his job in his department to gauge what they think that movie's going to make in box office and all that kind of stuff. And it was a calculations alchemy that I would never understand. So I'm not the right guy to answer that.
And obviously they have to include the pre-ticket sales now too. That goes.
Oh no. These are done way before ticket sales are done.
Okay.
Like way before that.
Okay.
He's like the estimations. Like it's estimated to do like 60 million this weekend or whatever.
Yeah.
You know.
And so pre-ticket sales don't affect that estimation at all.
Because pre-tickets aren't on sale when those when the early estimates are done. Those are done like long before the movies ever get anywhere near the theaters.
Oh, okay.
All right, what's next?
All right. Zehos writes, "Hey all, I saw The Flash last night and enjoyed it quite a bit. It's dumb, silly, fun movie, and I would definitely rewatch it for a good time. I will now go watch The Flash open discussion. I love you, crew and chat."
Oh.
I love the movie. I am unabashedly, I love this movie, despite the fact that I think Ezra's a clown, and despite the fact that Ezra should never play Flash again, and despite the fact that, all the other stuff that goes on, I don't care, and the fact that it's flopping, don't care. I love the movie. I think it's wonderful. Does it have its issues? Absolutely has its issues, but overall, at the end of the day, I thought it was a really entertaining, fun movie to watch, and I'll watch it probably 2 or 3 more times in theaters before it's done. All right, what's next?
All right, we've got the People's Champ. Any updates on the Toxic Avenger movie starring Peter Dinklage?
No, that's been floating around for years. I don't know if they shot it and now it's just sitting in post-production hell. I don't know if they never got around to it. I honestly don't know anything about it. But the fact, I feel like the Peter Dinklage edition was years ago.
Yeah.
At this point, so I honestly have not heard hide nor hair about that. It's an interesting question. All right, what's next?
The Everything Entertainment writes.
Can you scroll that up a bit?
Oh yeah. Not really, because it's at the bottom.
Okay, no problem.
I'll just take my picture off.
That didn't help. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, my local Cinemark held a fan screening of Joyride yesterday, and all day today at work, I've been randomly getting fits of laughter remembering the hotel scene and K-pop scene. Probably one of the best comedies since 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Listen, I'm so glad you said it, because we heard about this movie. What's it called? Joyride.
Yeah.
Coming out of South by Southwest. And the people who saw it at South by Southwest were losing their minds. 4 Asian girls, Seth Rogen producing, and out of South by Southwest, people were freaking out over how hilarious this little low budget comedy was. So they decided to bring it to CinemaCon, and they played it for us at CinemaCon last month. I have not laughed. Look, I don't want to oversell it because comedy is the most subjective thing in the world. A comedy can be on screen. It can make you laugh your guts out, and the next person is sitting next to you may not laugh at all. So I don't know what your experience with this movie will be like. I can only tell you mine. I haven't laughed like that since 40-Year-Old Virgin. I have not. It might be a top 10 best comedy I've ever seen. In terms of, not in terms of storytelling and narrative, but in terms of pure joy and laughter. I was ridiculously entertained by this movie. And you know me, I love filthy. And my friends, they bring the filthy in this movie. They completely bring the filthy in this movie. But I laughed to the point that I almost thought I was going to be sick. And Rob was sitting behind me. We were watching this. And I've sat in a number of comedies with Rob. And I've never heard Rob laugh that hard. And even when the movie was over, and we still sat there for about 30 to 45 seconds as the credits rolled, as I turned around to look at Rob after that, his face was still beet red. You could still see some tears in his eyes from laughing so hard. My wife, Ann, she said it might be her favorite comedy of all time.
Wow.
Ray, you were there. What did you think?
I fell asleep, so it didn't matter.
Did you fall asleep?
No. Dude, it's really good. Anybody who likes comedy, this is the one you don't miss.
Yeah, and again, listen, I feel weird about saying, because again, nothing is more subjective than comedy. You may watch it and not laugh once.
Yeah.
I can't predict that. I can only tell you my experience. And the 5,000 people who were in that theater watching it, that was one of the most loudest laughing theaters I've ever heard ever.
And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of have the hots for the lead lady, whatever her name is. That was my first introduction to her, because she was in something else. Everything Always. What?
No. Well, the shorter girl,
the lead, the main,
the one with the tattoo. She's from Everything Everywhere All at Once. The lead girl who turns out being a different. Yeah. That's not Everything Everywhere All at Once girl.
I'm talking about the Everything All at Once girl.
Oh, you're talking about that girl?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, she's great. She was also in Shang-Chi. She's kind of blowing up right now a lot. I mean, listen, the movie is great. It's a little low budget, just brilliant comedy. It's so funny, and I cannot wait for you guys to watch it. And with that down, guys, clock's up. That'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much, guys, for being here, making this show part of your day. Big special thank you to all of our channel members who sent in those topics and questions. And thank you to you guys for checking this out. I want to remind you, if you guys are listening to this on the YouTube channel, the better listening experience is by subscribing to this podcast on your favorite podcasting app of choice, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify. And by the way, if you subscribe to it on Spotify, there's also a video version where you can watch or listen to it on Spotify, but it's also available on whatever your favorite podcasting app of choice is. Also, if you are listening to the podcast, don't forget we also have a YouTube channel. We put up several short videos every day, and we do a live stream every day called Open Mic, which I'm thinking about changing the title of it. I'm wrestling with that, but I'll let you guys know about that. And so make sure you also go and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So for myself, the great Chef Pleasures himself, Ray Ora.
Oh, the great
Jonathan Voico.
Just okay.
My name, just the average Jonathan Voico, in between making Batman movies. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.